Okay, so you're a business owner and you have been kind of always feeling like you are stuck a little bit. You don't know the things to focus on. You're probably feeling almost what every other business owner has felt like there's this invisible wall a bit, and it's, oh, how do I get past that? How do I feel like how can I break through that brick wall that I seem to always come up against, whether it's, financially, mentally, emotionally, just, everything just feels like it comes to a grinding halt, or there's a ceiling. And so today we're going to really talk about what are the things that can help with that. And specifically, how do you move through that? Like, how do you break through those kind of hidden barriers? And so, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Perfect. That brings us to another episode of BizMeds. We are your hosts and neuroscience business coaches. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darris. And we're here to give you the minimum effective dose to help you scale your business in today's business environment. And we're not coming at this from two guys who just sitting in a room, with some recording equipment. This is based on us being able to scale, $30 million under 18 months. We do this type of work with clients day in and day out, right? Specifically, how do we help break through those limits, no matter what they are, whether it's, something from process side, whatever it is, whatever the constraint is, we're going to help you break through it. But today specifically, one of the major constraints that keeps businesses from growing is really, we talk about it and we'll continue to talk about it, is cognitive load, right? It's operational drag, call it whatever you want, but it's oh my God, I feel like I don't have any more in the tank. I keep coming up. We call it maybe overwhelm or burnout, all these different labels we attach to this one thing that's usually, a result of cognitive load, which just means we've got so much stuff happening in our brain, we're tapped out of mental resources.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you been able to, identify with that from time to time?
Oh, I relate with it every single time. Honestly, as you were saying that, I remembered this week on my drive home, I was just unloading on Claude in a conversation, and I was like, well, this happened, and I think this is what I believe it to be. Put a critical lens on this, or like really stress test this and let me know what you think about this. And I found that by doing that, one, I'm not internalizing something and leaving it there, letting it fester. I found that by using that, I was decluttering and unloading the I don't know if at most entrepreneurs will probably be able to relate this, just feels like a shit ton of ideas that are in your brain, and you're just I don't know if I have time to figure out which one is what and what to do with it. And the reason why I bring that up is because the next day, when I had some time to finally or at least my brain felt like I've unloaded that stress or the uncluttered thoughts, I came back to it and I'm like, you know what? Now that I'm able to reread what I was thinking about, I'm able to add some more context to it.
Yeah.
And I've had some time, because I got it on paper already, quote unquote paper, I can now revisit it, think about it, add a different layer of context to it, and then talk to Claude about it again.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, I think, is a really foundational piece, and it highlights that one of the constraints is cognitive load, right? That's, you're just all I'm hearing is when you're talking about that is like, wow, I've got all this stuff happening in my brain. I need to get it out. And in order to get some bandwidth back, right? That's really important. And the fact that you utilize one of the tools that we give our clients is get it all out, right? Just put it all out on paper so you can see it. And that in and of itself helps to kind of reduce the cognitive load, to say, okay, I'm taking it out of my brain, putting it down, and it helps at least close some initial loops right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I've captured it somewhere. Okay, cool. It's not just going to continue to open loop, cycle on and off in a continual kind of cyclone in my brain,
Exactly,
on and on all night, and then not get any rest. So
Yeah.
that's a great exercise to go through.
Yeah.
Some people, what they do is they go and load on a partner,
Mhm.
and and then the partner's like, great.
I
So now
don't
I've
know,
just
yeah,
taken it all on,
Yeah.
and great. So now I'm stressed out or whatever it is,
Exactly, yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't know how to handle that. So that's a really good. So if you can't, sit there and write it out, kind of the cathartic access or act of writing it out, like that's a really good tool to use, like Claude or some type of transcription.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I remember when we first kind of started doing this with people, it was more focused on writing it out because there's a different level of neuroscience involved in actually handwriting it.
Yeah.
Because you get more in tune with your audio, your visual, and like your
Kinesthetic.
kinesthetic. Like it all ties in together, and you really, really, kind of get in tune with all of that, which allows you to now put on that more the idea of like being in that dark room where you have your thoughts out and you have now like really unloaded. So your brain after the 20 minutes, 30 minutes now starts thinking about the solutions to that problem. I think Alex Hormozy is the one that like kind of shared that idea. Like spend 60 minutes or whatever in a dark room and just think about your problem. Anytime you start trying to drift away from it. It's a long-winded way of saying like when you get that kinesthetic aspect involved as well, you find that as you're writing it, you're not losing attention.
Yeah.
So
it's driving you to focus. And it's really around, like, what I want to help people understand is it's not one or the other. Like, use the tool available. Just because you can't sit in a room and do that for 30 minutes or maybe 60 minutes doesn't mean don't do anything.
Right.
I think what that does is demonstrate, oh, well, I wasn't able to do that, but I used a very similar approach. It wasn't exact, but I see so many people like, well, I couldn't do that. Like even in a weekly coaching session where you have a goal and maybe your goal was to do this one thing every day. And it's like, oh, well, I couldn't do anything, so I didn't do it. I'm like, oh, so you couldn't, I'll just randomly like, oh, you couldn't read 10 pages.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't read 10, but you couldn't read 10. You couldn't read one page. You couldn't read 2 pages. You couldn't read a paragraph.
Yeah.
Like you live in this black or white dichotomy. You're right. It's got to be 10 pages or nothing.
Yeah.
And you rob yourself of any type of growth or any type of ability. So I love the fact you're like, well, I'm going to use Claude. It's maybe it doesn't have everything, but it has enough to help me still process and still use enough of the tool and in my tool belt to do something, right? To reduce cognitive load. Mm-hmm. So that's exceptional. I love that, right? So I think it's a really important piece we don't want to lose because people do lose sight of that when, it's like this or that. They live in that like really silly binary world.
Yeah, I've found that a lot of people typically want to come to the conclusion themselves because they find some pride and joy in it. But how are you going to come to that conclusion if you're not spending time with the problem?
Yes.
Right? Like it's a very, to your point, like the black or white, it's going to come to me. Are you putting an effort to actually get there? No. It'll come to me when it comes to me. I'm like,
yeah,
great.
Yep.
Could be 10 years from now. We've already moved on.
Yeah. Sitting in the desert on a couch.
Exactly.
Saying, I'm manifesting $1 million and doing no work for it.
Exactly.
So speaking of, talking about being with your problems and, the real central theme around today is, okay, cognitive load. More importantly is how do we reduce cognitive load through not only a tool like that, but automation, right? So can automation reduce cognitive load? If so, how? And then how can you make the most of that? So we've spent some time talking about the idea of cognitive. I think we all understand what cognitive load is, right? Mm-hmm. And for those of you who haven't, we'll continue to re-explain this because I don't think you ever get a really good handle on it, or you can't ever have it over-explained. It's you have a computer, you have literally 1,000 tabs open, and you're trying to keep track of everything, and you're you're just maxed out. You have no more space. There's no more memory available for computation. Like that's everything's slowed and ready to shut down. You are a hair away from getting the blue screen of death. That's cognitive load. And so the process is, how do we go systematically? How do we close those tabs down, reclaim that processing power? That's what the cognitive load is. We want to reduce cognitive load because we want to increase our mental bandwidth. And the more mental bandwidth we have, the more power we have to solution problems, to think about problems in the right way, or, allow our brain to do deeper work of, looking at the pattern recognition system and actually solving things at a broader scale. That's the whole point of, when we talk about flow, why the first step is reduce cognitive load, because it's the single biggest flow blocker, but it's also in your company, it's the biggest source of operational drag. So the reason why you can't get things done faster, the reason you can't be as agile or responsive as you want, is because you have so many people doing stupid repetitive tasks, right? Like very brainless tasks. Like, oh no, we've always done it this way. I always write all this down. And then I take this and I walk it over to Susan, and Susan takes this and she writes this on this other form. And then she takes those and she brings it to Gary over in whatever. And obviously I'm making, I'm driving to drive a point home but in your business, you have so many stupid, repetitive tasks that you do that are very low value, that we now have the technology to be able to do those things much more seamlessly.
Exactly.
High level of accuracy. I mean, I would argue that the more human hands you have touching something, the more prone, so the higher risk you are of something getting done incorrectly.
Yeah.
Right? So we're trying to remove those factors of it. And so what I like to talk about when we talk about this is that, like, cognitive load is like operational drag in your business. And so how can you leverage automation to reduce that?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
We have our AIM framework, right? Which is, automation, intuition, mastery. And when you're looking at things, it's where can you leverage automation or AI and things like that? Well, automation does really well in those data, anything that has to do with information and data transfer. If it's repetitive, redundant tasks, like very low brain power.
Monkey coded.
Exactly, right? Like, oh, I wrote this thing down and I moved it from here over to here in this physical space when it could be a digital thing, right? I could have it here and it be moved over there automatically, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's giving it away early, is that, yes, the reason why we look at, the framework of AIM and automation specifically is because it can reduce so much cognitive load and operational drag in your business. So it's not necessarily hiring more people. We see this play out time and time again where, we need to, there's so much work, we need to hire someone. Cool. What's that person going to do? Well, they're going to help us fill out this form and do this other manual thing that is going to help reduce the workload. And what you have is you bring on more people and you just get more operational drag. Things just get slower. You're not as able. And then what happens is you have way more communication issues because, you're hiring terribly and, so and so on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it trickles down. It's all connected, right? It's just one domino waiting to hit. And I absolutely agree with you, because the reason why the AIM framework is so important is I see it as, you ever seen those movies where like the scientist is just standing at the top and he's just looking at an entire process and he's like, I don't know exactly which movie I'm quoting, but like just a scene that is really sticking out to me right now is like, you've seen this entire process of like what's happening. The mouse is on this side and it's going through this maze and it's taking forever. It's like, well, what if we like remove that obstacle there? What if we added this? And and it just starts becoming faster and faster and faster. Yeah. And that's the reason why I'm using that analogy, is because that's how you need to look at your business as well. So you just map out the entire process and you look at the areas where things are not flowing as smoothly. For example, like the repetitive task, like your accrual process, or your invoicing, or all of that type of stuff. It's the same thing month in, month out, and you're looking at it and like, this takes 15 days. Well, why is it taking 15 days? can we expedite that and allocate those resources to do something more important, right?
So, and so you say that it's funny enough, like one of the clients literally spent a little bit, maybe a few hours of work in 1 month and saved themselves probably at least 2 days of manual effort every month by just leveraging the tools already available in her software that she was using. Right. So accounting software, their project management software, things like just by automating and understanding what could be done.
Yeah.
Like suddenly 2 days of work have disappeared of manual. It's like, oh, what used to take me like hours to do this invoicing is now done in literally 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And now I can just look at it and I approve it and it's gone. Right. I no longer have to manually sit there, and we can just take advantage of the thing that's already available. So a lot of times, like, you already have like so much more automation available to you that you don't even realize you do. And but because you don't understand that, you are fit in this constant loop of doing the same thing over and over. And sometimes you need someone to be able to say, oh, if you actually do this and this and this, we can make that just seamlessly. And then you can reclaim all of that time and energy and reallocate that to much more higher value work, which is the stuff that requires intuition, judgment, or relationship building, mastery, communication, like all those types of things, right? Like the real hands-on part of the business that AI and data just will never touch. They augment, they support, but they will never replace.
Yeah. And, well, especially like with the growth right now, we can get more into it in another episode, but with everything happening so fast now, like previously, I've seen those times, I'm sure you've also seen those times where a change in the business would be 2 years. Like, yeah, we're going to, instead of like sending out letter mail, we're going to start sending emails to our clients.
Yeah.
Like 8 month long process to swap it over.
Yeah.
Now things are happening within a matter of weeks. The technology is advanced so much, and the entrepreneur and the guy that is running the business needs to have the right resources and right people in place to look at that a lot faster.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that the people that are not thinking about those things and not looking at them, they're getting aged out really, really fast. And they're wondering like, oh, well, why is my business not doing this? It's because you're not looking at the right things. You're still expecting to, compete against companies that are automating their processes. They're automating their repetitive tasks by competing, utilizing Google Sheets.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my entire CRM is in my Google Sheets. I'm like,
yeah, cool.
Excuse me?
Guess what? You can absolutely improve that exponentially with a little bit of few tweaks, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you love Google Sheets, but you can still automate Google Sheets into so many other things, right?
100%, yeah.
But, like all this client work, just kind of spins up in my head. It's like the other things that we've been able to accomplish with them and getting and maturing them. And I really like what you said. It's the companies that are not thinking about this are going to be continually left behind because you no longer, like, you also need a skill set of being able to think through the systems part of it that support really fast movement of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So repetitive, like even getting your data so it's in a place where you can make good decisions.
Yeah. Another example I want to quickly use is like Steve Jobs' example. Nobody told him that he needs to build the iPhone when he came up with the idea of like develop. Obviously, he didn't build it himself,
Yes.
but like when he came up with the iPhone, up until then, the entire cycle of the cell phone was big buttons, tiny little screen.
Yeah.
The only designed to call. Now, that's not to say that somebody else wouldn't have come up with that idea, but because he had the idea, he capitalized it, and Apple is what it is today because of that, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing the reason why I'm bringing that up is because most conversations I've been having as of late is like, oh, well, like, we'll wait until everybody else has like kind of tried it, and then we'll be the last ones to join the party. I'm like, cool.
You're already left behind.
You're left behind, and on top of that, like you're slim pickings for somebody to buy you out today.
Yeah, absolutely. Because all they have to do is like, oh, we've already solved this problem. Mm-hmm. You're so far behind, but I can capitalize on everything that you have. You're a perfect target. Boom, I'm going to buy you out.
Yeah.
And guess what? You're not going to get the money that you think that you are, that your company's worth, because you're so far behind. You're so manual process and everything. So you're not valuable.
Yeah.
Right. So it costs you a lot to acquire a client. You don't have really good long-term client value. Mm-hmm. Like all these things, you're so not agile. Mm-hmm. You have so many key man risks built into your organization that you're not even as valuable.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be indignant. You're going to be insulted when a company comes to offer you, because then you realize, oh, I have this company. I think all those decisions now have come right to that point where you're like, oh, my company is not worth nearly what I thought it was because I haven't solved any of these fucking problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to be forward. You have to think about, like, automation has a place. It doesn't replace everything, but it has a significant place in getting you to reduce operational drag, reduce redundancies, like the things that you're doing over and over, like the repetitive tasks that literally some code can handle.
Yeah.
Right. And we talk about leverage, like we'll never stop talking about leverage, because this is fundamental leverage that frees up so much time and energy.
Yeah.
And the return on investment on that is exponential, because you put in some time and money and energy first, and you build it and you scale that almost indefinitely.
Yeah.
Like that's true definition of leverage.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just get good, and you have people involved in your organization that think about that, and you need to treat them as a resource, or find someone that can help you think that through to say, oh, where are we just dragging operationally that we can actually speed these things up, because you'll make better and better decisions as you clean that stuff up.
Yeah.
You'll have less operational drag, less cognitive load. Your people will have less cognitive load, because guess what? Their enjoyment of their job will go up, because they're like, oh, well, I don't just show up every day to have Jim yell at me because I didn't put this file in this file cabinet at the right time, or I, go on and on with the stupidity of like that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's like we're in the 21st century and we still operate like we're in the 1950s. Well, I need this paper copy of this, and I have to put this paper copy in here, and then make this other paper copy and put it over here because someone might request a paper copy of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to quickly share an example of maybe two different examples. One of the recent conversations I had with somebody is we like kind of reviewed their entire process and figured out which areas we can automate. So in conversation, we got to a point where 95% of that could be automated, except for the starting point. The starting point was somebody that has to manually build a file and upload it. And I was like, so I could tell that it was going to be a sensitive topic for them, because the person building the file, that was their entire job. Like, it is somebody creating an Excel file, and then they attach it to a process that gets automated.
Yep.
That is something that I could, in certain situations, agree with, because if it's a different file every single time, then different story. They're literally just scraping the internet to grab information. Like, just tell me the sources, I'll grab the information for you. No, I have to do this because I have to be very certain about the numbers. How are you certain about the numbers? Oh, I have to look at the website. I'm like, so your certainty is that you look at it and then say yes. What are the odds you say no? Very rarely. What are the odds? Maybe once a year.
You're literally proving out the whole.
Exactly. And then there was another conversation where same process, same everything. They're like, well, no, we don't want to automate because I want my people to be confident in the numbers. How are they confident in the numbers? They have to put them in themselves, hand bomb them. Like, okay, but where are they getting the numbers from? Oh, looking at the actual information on our like system.
Yeah, this stuff kills me, man. Like, every time we come up against this stuff.
Yeah, and the again, going back to like the acquisition part of it, if that company gets acquired, because right now is obviously prime time where companies are taking over
Yep.
little businesses like that. That company gets acquired, that person's never getting a job again.
Yeah.
Because like that skill gap is way down
Well,
here. And the average person now that is utilizing these skills.
The unfortunate part is they'll get another job in another company just like that is not looking forward and they're not looking ahead to say, oh, okay, how can we? And so they'll convince someone that this is a really valuable, skill set.
Yeah.
Right. So unfortunately, our work is really about helping move that forward. And maybe you're not a business owner that hears this. Well, this is your wake up call to understand like what the game is now.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to be thinking in these. It's not like, oh, I do this thing. It's how do I provide more value by removing operational drag and cognitive load in an organization because we're able to respond faster. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Right. I love Elon Musk's kind of like when he talks about, he's got to talk about like engineers and some of their problems. Right. And one of the things he talks about is, a lot of times, and I'm just summarizing, it's just a lot of times engineers, people in general just don't ask the question, should we actually even be doing, should this actually exist?
Yeah.
Right? Does this process need to actually exist? And I look at a project we kind of just going through with one of the clients, and it's like this massive data project where we're taking all this financial information and doing a lot of transformation to it, and then to get it out to I can't say too much about it, but like to get to a very important output, right? That multiple teams depend on. Well, the previous iteration of that had so many kind of like these little places where you can manually intervene it. But there's no tracking of any of that. But it was like, oh, well, why are we doing that? Like, why would we do that and that? Like, does that make sense? And so we had to approach it with, should that even exist? And we were able to strip away probably, I would say, 25 to 35% of the non-value add steps in the process and reduce the kind of like other drag associated with that to make it better, high quality, highly confident data.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, you also have to go into it and say, should we even be doing that? Because if you can strip away the non-essentials, you're going to increase your operational speed, reduce operational drag, reduce cognitive load. I spend more time thinking about it because the process and everything else I know is dialed in.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, we went long. Kind of just took off on us. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think this is very loaded. We had a lot of things in there. It seemed like we also got a little passionate about some of the things because we see them so often. And as always, I think if anybody has any questions about how we come up with these ideas and like how we map out solutions, definitely leave a comment. Love to help you guys out.
Yes. We're here to help you automate, to reduce cognitive load, operational drag, all those things. So you can respond faster. You become more profitable. And it's not always about hiring more people. It's about getting people to do the right things.
Yeah.
Solve the right problem the right way.
Yeah.
So with that, everyone, thank you for joining us on this episode of BizMeds. We're your neuroscience business coaches. My name is Darris.
And I'm Saad.
And today's minimum effective dose is how you leverage automation to reduce cognitive load and operational drag to make you more profitable, right? Keep you from getting on that proverbial hamster wheel of hiring people and firing people because the problems never get solved.
Exactly.
Right? So this is a massive lever you can pull in your business to make it operate in the way you need it to. So with that, thank you. If you've just joined us, we appreciate you sticking with us and coming to the world of BizMeds. If you've been with us since the beginning, like my mom and Saad's mom, who's probably our number one fan in the world, thank you, love you, appreciate you so much. And with that, remember, we have our masterclass. We are working on upskilling another tool that we have for you. So when you're looking at the world of automation and how do I become more responsive, reduce cognitive load and operational drag, we're going to have the next iteration of our kind of constraint breaking tool, which is really how do I get as much maximum leverage into the business, and where specifically. This is going to be that step. So this is why it's taking us a bit longer, because as we uncover the challenge, is it the real challenge? Are we solving the right problem the right way? We are students of what we preach. Absolutely. So with that, Remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next BizMeds episode.